Okay. Um, you grew up with blues very much in your blood. It was part of your family DNA, I guess. What are some of your most vivid early memories of music in your household growing up?
Well, just I just remember my dad. I don't remember when I started to play because I was always around the music. But I just remember my dad coming to the house with his band members and setting up and playing the drums and guitars, and that was just so exciting for us when we was little bitty kids to hear them things make noise and drum beats. And I think that's when we fell in love with it, when we was big enough to know that they was going to come over and play that night and rehearsal, you know.
There were some legendary names that were amongst your dad's friends and came to your home. Was it did the significance of that gel with you at the time, or was it only years later that it dawned on you?
Well, at the time, I really didn't. I didn't take them as celebrities to me. It was just my dad's friends, like Buddy Guy and Slim Harpo, Lazy Lester, and Sundown. All of the blues guys was my dad's friends. So that's the way I looked at them, as a bunch of guys who was all friends and played music together. And they seemed like they was closer than, the painters of carpenters and all that. All the other guys that hang out, the musicians was always the coolest. And I knew then I wanted to play music.
You got your first harmonica from Slim Harpo as a pacifier, I believe. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when I was a very small kid, he was just playing a joke on me, and he opened up this trailer that he hauled his equipment in, and told me to go inside to see if any equipment was left inside. And when I walked in, he kind of closed the doors, just playing with me. But when he closed the doors on me, it went pitch black, and I freaked out. So he wasn't my favorite at that moment. I just wanted him to go to his own house when I was a kid, when he did me that. But in order to get me to stop crying, he apologized and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to make you that upset." And he gave me a harmonica just to stop me from crying.
So you're considered a multi-instrumentalist, I guess, these days. What was your first instrument of choice as a young boy?
Well, it was a piano because, that was the first thing that my dad brought home and told us that it was ours. So when he brought the old church piano home, I think he paid something like $20 for it, one of them old 1800 something. And he brought that thing home, and now that we lit up like a Christmas tree, man. We can go over there and pick on the ivories, and it made noise and music, man. That was like, so piano was my first thing that I started to play.
Now, as you
Playing
grew,
Ray Charles. Tell me, my first song was Ray Charles. Tell me what I say.
oh wow.
Yeah,
As you grew
yeah.
older, you got to play in your dad's band. Putting aside the fact that he was your dad, what kind of band leader was he to work under?
He was a great band leader. I mean, he was still a dad. He wasn't a band leader to me.
Yeah.
So it was orders. Like he would tell me, "Okay, son, load up the van, and I want you to go and pick up the musicians, and you guys start off at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and I'll be over there later on." And that was my orders, and that's what I did. You know,
It was.
but I was living under the roof. I remember one time I went home to my mom and was crying because he was paying the band members more than I got paid. So I went home and told my mom on him. I was upset. And so the next morning when he got up, I told him that night we came home from the gig, but he paid them guys $12 and only gave me six. Yeah. And the next morning he got up, he opened up the fridge. He said, "Hey son, you see, every time you go in this fridge, I have to pay for that." So while you crying for more money, you remember when you go into this fridge, you remember where it come from, okay? Yeah. Yeah, so but he was a great dad, man, and I had a great time with him, and I'm glad I did because I was with him all my life. And when he passed away, I had no guilt feelings. We was best of friends. We was like brothers, father, son, just a lot of love, man. And I'm so glad. I'm glad we had a great time together because he left us so early. He left us real young. But the time that we put in, I'm glad we took advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know.
So no.
So I had a great time with my dad, even though it was a short time.
Yeah. You went on to Buddy Guy's band, and he was a graduate of your dad's band as well. How did he compare as a band leader?
Same. It was no different because they had a discussion before I left home, right? Because I was so young. So when I left home, they was discussing me. So my dad was really turning me over to Buddy,
Yeah.
and Buddy was responsible for me in a way. You know, that's the way they did business back then. You know. Okay, buddy, I'm going to let my son go, but, you got to take care of him and look out for him. And, all them things was discussed before I left home.
Yeah.
So I wasn't totally on my own. When I got to Chicago, I still had Buddy Guy and Phil Guy looking after me,
Yeah.
making sure everything was okay. So it was great because, Buddy is like family. Even his sisters and brothers still live in Baton Rouge now, my home. They're still
Fantastic.
in Louisiana, and I see them a lot.
I believe it was Buddy who convinced you to put your focus on guitar, even though you played bass in his band.
Yeah, sort of. What happened is when I left and went to Chicago, I didn't realize that big music scene, I was used to Baton Rouge and working with my dad and working on weekends. But when I got to the city of Chicago, man, it was like every night was Friday night. Monday mornings at 11 o'clock, you go to Buddy Guy's club, and there you got a band playing at 10 o'clock in the morning. Wide open and rolling. The club is going like if it was Friday night, on a Monday morning. So, and these guys was all playing guitars, and they had their own bands, and they go to Europe, and that was something totally new. So, I kind of figured, well, maybe I should get a guitar and start a band as well. And maybe I can get some of this action that's going on, and Buddy, he was agreeing as well. And that's what made me change over.
Yeah.
But before then, I was just playing bass with my dad, until I got to the big city.
Now, you also, I believe, spent some time in Toronto in a band with your brothers. Tell us about those days and how important they were in terms.
Yeah, well, I moved to Chicago with Buddy Guy, and then that was in the 70s. 76, around that time. And in 1980, the blues was just dying out. There wasn't any work around. It was like really bad for all the blues guys. And Buddy wasn't working that much, and Junior Wells as well. So I'd met a girl in Toronto, which is, I married her, and we have 2 grown kids and grandbabies now.
Wow.
But I moved up to Canada, and the work was slow, and I talked my way up on a 3-month contract deal in Canada as a house band. And so I went down south, got my little brother. They was all new at, putting the band together as the Neal Brothers. So it was kind of paid rehearsal. And I would play every night of the week, but I would bring in guest stars with me, like Big Mama Thornton one night. I'll have Buddy Guy one week, Junior Wells one week, just all the blues. I would fly them in every week to be a guest with the Neal Brothers band. And that was fun. It gave my brothers experience, and, that was my highway to the blues.
How significant was it for you to land a recording deal with a specialist blues label like Alligator in the beginning? Was that important rather than just go to a general contemporary type label?
Well, see, I already know the Alligator from the late '70s when I was in Chicago with Buddy Guy. Um, so after I saw him play guitar and had the Neal Brothers band in 1980, I wrote Alligator a letter, and they didn't respond. I mean, well, he responded to it, but he told me that he didn't think I was ready, and we needed to work on it some more, and blah blah blah. You know, one of them really nice no thank you letters.
Yeah.
and and then this is in 1980 now, April the 2nd, because I framed the letter. I got the letter in the frame, and so it wasn't until 1986 that I got the deal. But I tried in 1980.
Yeah.
And after we put out the first record and I won my awards and we started getting all this big recognition, I showed him a copy of that letter. I said, hey, I got something for you, and I pulled it out, and there was the letter from 1980, April the 2nd. Yeah. But since then, you know, I mean, we went on to make about 5 or 6 CDs on Alligator.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're somebody who has a direct connection to a past generation of blues greats, but at the same time you're considered very much a modern day blues man. Have you always been conscious of moving forward with your music, but also at the same time acknowledging the roots of it all?
Oh, all the time. Every time I perform or make a record, because I'm one of the last of the last. I'm one of the last of the newcomers off of Buddy Guy and them. You know, it's like I'm ahead of the new guys out here, and I'm the last of the old guys who's leaving us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck in the middle of it because I had a chance to play with Muddy Waters. I played with Lightning Hopkins. You know, I played with Buddy Guy, Junior Wells, Big Mama Thornton, James. You name it, man. I've been there. I've been with all of these older guys who then died and left us, and the younger generation who's coming up behind me. I only know a few of them. I don't know them all. You know, it's not like when I was growing up. You had, you know, the Muddy Waters, you know, Holland Wolf. You know, Buddy Guy, Junior Wells, Willie Dixon. It was just a gang of them there, you know. And all of them are gone now. Sonny Terry, Brian McGee, Coco Taylor. You know, these are the guys I hung out with.
You've had some health issues of your own in recent years. How are you these days, health wise?
I just left the doctor yesterday. I have to go in for a 6 months checkup every 6 months, and I'm all good. I'm 100% clear of my hepatitis C. That's what I had treatments for, and there's no traces. And my counts and blood plates are good. So I'm 100% better.
Oh, terrific! Did that time off the scene, that time you spent away from music, give you time to sort of take stock and reassess your career?
Well, yeah, I did a lot during that time because prior to that time, you know, I lost my dad. My brother died from cancer, and then another 4 or 5 months later, my dad died. And then a couple of more months after that, my sister got murdered. A guy killed my sister, and this happened all less than a year for me. And so I was really having really personal problems with losing all my family members. And my drummer, who was with me for 18 years, Kenny Johnson, he passed away the same week my sister got murdered.
Good grief.
And so, yeah, man, and this all happened in 11 months. So it was like, after that was over with, my wife told me to go and have a checkup, and then it came back with hepatitis C on top of all of this, man. And the doctors told me I had to take off, and I took off, and I had to go through 58 weeks of treatments, injections every week for 58 weeks. And it was hell and back. But in that time, I don't understand how I had the ambitions and the will to keep going. I wrote the CD, Let Life Flow, which came to me from all of the stuff I was going through at that time. I also started a TV show, a talk show, that I would go down once a week and meet with a lot of my old friends who was coming through town. And I had this half-an-hour show called The Neal's Place. And until I got too weak to do it, I would have them come in as a guest, and they would play a couple of songs with me. And it just kept me going, you know?
Yeah.
And until I just didn't want to do anything, but I pretty well kept busy throughout my treatments, even though I was really weak. I just wouldn't let it get me down. So, but I couldn't play music though. I maybe played 3 or 4 shows throughout that whole ordeal.
Putting together that album, Let Life Flow, after all those tragedies and your own health issues, did you find it a therapeutic experience putting that record together?
Very much. The weirdest thing about it, my whole concept of my new CD was going to be, okay, I'm going to go and reflect back on the 50s when my dad then was all young kids and started to play, because I know this type of music from around Louisiana. So I was going to focus on that style. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, man, these lyrics start popping up in my head that I was only talking to myself. I wasn't trying to write a song. This is just saying that was coming to me, thinking about life in general, you know. And I remember one morning I was trying to get up, and I couldn't get up and go to the bathroom, and I sat there and I go, oh man, just when you think you got it all figured out, here comes something you never dreamed about.
Yeah.
I say, one thing I know for sure, I got to let life flow. And I wrote it down, and that's how the CD started. Let life flow. Just from me being real sick, I had to just deal with it, you know?
Your most recent record, there's a real uplifting feel to that. It gives a sense of a person who's now getting on with the process of life again. Did you go into that album wishing to convey that spirit?
Oh yeah, I went into that new Hooked on Your Love that I was better and I was back.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of spirit I had. You know, because when I listen to Let Life Flow, it'd probably be one of my favorite songs I ever do, because it was so special to me. It brought me through a dark period, and so it would be my favorite. But you know, I just want to keep my good spirit and lift up, and you know, and enjoy it. But I just had to share my personal feelings on the Let Life Flow CD.
Sure.
And I'm glad I did, because I found out that a lot of people was paying attention to me, and the CD won CD of the Year, Song of the Year. I picked up 8 awards from this one CD. You know.
Wow. You mentioned your cable TV show. We never got to see it down here, obviously. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and some of the personal highlights for you on that show?
Well, I got some of the old greats guys like Jimmy McCracklin, the guy did the song "Do the Walk," and
yeah.
You know, I just captured a lot of history while I was off. But you can watch it if you go over to kennyneal.net. That's my website, kennyneal.net.
Yeah.
And you just go over to Neal's Place TV show and click on, and it'll tell you what time that I air. And you can catch it when it's on air. It'll give you the date and the time.
Tremendous.
So you can catch it there in Australia.
Tremendous. So you're based on the West Coast now. What prompted your move over there?
Well, my wife is from here, but we were back in Louisiana every month.
Yeah.
So we're like, we splits it up about 50-50, Louisiana and California. But she's from here, and at the time, I stayed here more because I was taking my treatments on the West Coast.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So now we're in Louisiana half of the year, and half of the year we're here. We breaks it up.
a beautiful record you put out a few years ago was your tribute to Slim Harpo and your dad. That must have been a real labour of love for you. How did you work through the song selection process on that album, choosing which songs to include?
Well, what I did, I just did a research on Slim and all of the stuff I had around the house, and just select the songs that I found on Slim. I didn't really try to pick the songs. I just picked enough. I go, okay, I think I put about 12 or 13 songs. And I just grabbed 12 or 13 songs, and I got the original guys who played on all of these songs to come and join me in the studio. And I was doing a tribute to Slim Harpo, but my dad died right after I finished it. He never did see it. My father never seen the album, the CD, because he got sick and passed away. And so I forgot about it, and then one day I was thinking about, man, let me go back and look over this master. And it was like 95% finished. And so I went in and finished, and then I made a tribute to Rayful and Slim Harpo. But it started out to be a tribute to Slim Harpo with me and my dad. And I was going to take my dad on the road, and we'd go out and promote that CD, but that didn't happen.
It's a wonderful album. Are there any other special concept type albums you've got in mind to do sometime in the future?
Well, I'm getting ready to do. I've already put together the more of a documentary CD. It's on the Neal family.
Oh, right.
With all my brothers and sisters and my nephews, the third generation. It's like 3 generations of music, and I got that in the can. And also, I have a video called American Blues Man, and that's going to be released for the next year as well.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
it's about me growing up in Louisiana, and I got footages of me and Buddy Guy and Junior Wells back in the 70s, me and my dad, me and Big Mama Thornton. I got pictures of me and Dizzy Gillespie, Muddy Waters, Lana Hampton, Kenny Burrell, Buddy Rich, all of them, man.
Oh, wow.
All the jazz guys and stuff, and I talk about all of these guys, and I show footage, and then at the end, I roll down all of these pictures, Hubie Blake, Stan Getz, Odetta, and then all the blues guys. So I got all the great jazz players, because back then, when we used to go to Europe, we was like the only blues band on the whole jazz festival. So I would always hang out with all of the great jazz guys, but I didn't even know that they was that big, because I was into the blues, and I'm hanging out with Dizzy Gillespie, not realizing I'm hanging with one of the greats. So and I got all these pictures with them when I was 19, 20, 21 years old out there playing. And so I just put all that stuff together to share with my fans.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
So it's called American Blues Man.
And that's coming in the new year, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Tremendous. That's great.
It's about a 55-minute documentary.
Wonderful. You're someone who has moved around a bit over the years. You've spent time in Chicago, in Toronto, and now on the West Coast there. Do you think your living environment can influence the sound of your music? Do you feel a combination of all the regions that you've lived in within the sound of your music?
Yeah, I think that brings my style together. Having lived and checked out all of the different styles of blues, because I came from, but it always takes me back to my roots, because I came from the South, and we're influenced a lot by the French music, and also ragtime before jazz was born. Jazz was born down in New Orleans, but we had ragtime music, and then the jazz, and the swing we had, and then, but that didn't happen. I wasn't in the blues with a influence of the French music. And then when I got to Chicago, it was more of a hardcore live acoustic music that been converted over to electric, which was the Chicago sound, which was totally different from Rayful Neal and Slim Harpo. So I got into the Chicago sound, and that was a different. And then when I moved up to Canada, by the time the blues got there, it had got all twisted around in a whole different way. You know, but it was still blues, but you can see how the transformation was.
Yeah.
And but it was tighter. It was real tight and slick, I think, because I guess the northern people wanted to do it like the right way. You know, Chicago, hey man, let's drink a fifth of liquor and play some blues. You know, but by the time they got up north, they were sober and wanted to do it the way they thought they can do it correctly. And I heard a much tighter format of blues, and it kind of interested me in a way, because it wasn't you know, all loose. It wasn't that loose like it was in Chicago for me, you know. And it made me really put together a tight show by thinking that way, because I'm really disciplined when I'm on stage. You know, you don't see no drinking or smoking or talking on stage, and like they used to do back in the days, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they'd do a song and take a cigarette and take a drink and talk, and then they'd count off another song. And I didn't find that as I got further north. And so I kind of combined all the music and the experience together, and that's where I came up with the Kenny Neal style.
Absolutely.
But I very much try and keep the roots of Louisiana there, because that's my roots. That's my foundation of it.
Now, before I let you go, Kenny, I believe you're starting your own record label, or have started your own record label now.
Well, it's a record label which I'm starting, but I don't know if it's so much for myself. It's for artists that's having problems trying to get their material out, and I just want to be there to help the younger artists. So I'm starting this label, actually, and having them go to work and help me with it. So it's just a label that I can be able to direct the younger kids and have them, you know, be able to own their CD and get on Facebook and get out there to CD Baby and Amazon and put their stuff up and have their stuff available. So that's what the label is all about.
Right.
So I'm getting ready to start these new artists that I really believe in, and I think once they're heard, they can get some, you know, get further, just to open the doors for them.
Tremendous.
So that's what that label is all about. Now, for myself, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now, I don't even have a record deal, but I have a lot of people calling me up and interested in doing some more projects together now. But I'm not going to stop with this label that I have for the newcomers.
Tremendous. Kenny, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. We're really glad to hear that you're back in full health and making great music again.
And thank you so much for keeping the blues alive, man. And I hope to come and see you guys soon.
That would be great. We're here waiting for you.
Okay, you take care, and all the best to you.
You too, Kenny. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
bye.
Bye-bye.